Welcome to Worthy of Work, the podcast dedicated to helping anyone who's done having lousy, lonely, disappointing relationships and who's ready to do the work to build better connections. I'm Stephanie Rivard, and if you've ever questioned your sanity, wondered if healthy relationships are even real, or wonder if there's anything you can do to attract or create a healthier relationship, you are exactly where you need to be. Together, we will unpack the healthy relationship skills no one taught us. In today's episode, we're going to talk about what I think is the most powerful behavior for healthy conflicts. And it's not what you might think it is. It's not being very logical. It's not remaining calm. It is owning your part. Let's dive into what that is not, and the power of this behavior and why I am so convinced that this is the skill that improves healthy conflict. Okay, what is it? Well, owning our own part is taking responsibility for anything that we have done inside of this conflict or this issue, and that, that wasn't great, that could have tweaked, and we're just going to say it. And this will sound like, I'm sorry, my tone was harsh. I was late and left you waiting. I'm sorry, I should have called. That was passive aggressive of me. What I should have said is this. I could have been more direct. I should have been more clear about this. I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. That was unkind. I was distracted there and wasn't really present for that conversation. I should have asked to reschedule, or I should have shut off my phone. Just owning how we show up. When we show up in the original issue that we're arguing about, or how we show up in this argument. We're just going to own it. What this is not self-berating. This is not, I'm so stupid. I don't get anything right. I'm just a broken mess. I don't know how you put up with me. It is not that. In fact, that's manipulation and very toxic. It is not saying, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you don't understand the circumstance. It's not defensiveness. This is not followed by an explanation. This is not pointing out their flaws. This is not what we do it. It's not maybe I'll say a few of mine and then I'll share some of yours. No, we're just going to share our own. And this is not like a vague statement like, well, I was tired. I guess I could have done that better. That's not it either. This is just a healthy, mature ownership of myself, of my behaviors. And again, I want to really stress, this is not that self-berating, toxic garbage where I am all bad and now I'm actually invoking you to coddle me. That's batshit crazy. If that's happening, get some therapy. That's maybe harsh, but it's bad. Just don't live with that. So why is this so easy to avoid? To take ownership of ourselves? It's because we're human. Gosh. So I was motivated to do this episode because I had an argument with my husband the other day, and I was reflecting on it like, oh man, that was really hard. That was hard to practice this, to own my part and to recognize I'm responsible for how I show up. And it doesn't matter the circumstance. I don't get to justify my bad behavior because of someone else's bad behavior. I don't get to do that as an adult, a mature adult. And it's so easy to not use this skill because we're human, because our ego, pride. And I think in our youth, children were caught in this who's right and wrong debate, right? Where you usually have to have this argument because we're trying to prove to our parents who to punish, right? Who's right, who's wrong. And still in my adult life, it can be tempting to conduct myself that way and to engage in a conflict in that manner. I want to be right, so now I'm going to argue. I want you to be wrong, and therefore I'm superior and I'm okay. This is not the behavior of mature adults. The right and wrong self-evaluation does not belong in mature, healthy conflict. Self-ownership and resolution does belong in healthy conflict, but we have to flex these little muscles and grow and hopefully be doing this in a healthy, safe environment. But we can only do our part. We can do this in our part and show up and own our side of the street. Why is this so important? When someone takes ownership of themselves and says this kind of stuff inside of a conflict, it changes the temperature in the room. It opens doors for grace and accountability. It's magnetic and it's rare. And like I said, it might invoke someone else doing the same. So now we have, an exchange of what I own and what you're owning. It can do that. And again, we don't do it to invoke that. We do this because we want to live in a mature manner. But it has this power to create space, an inviting space that diffuses that defensiveness. And I believe I've witnessed enough arguments that when we're not doing this, the argument appears like one person is trying to convince the other person of what they've done wrong. The other person is trying to convince the other person of what they've done wrong. And instead of this back and forth, which feels kind of yucky, doesn't it? If each person just owns their own stuff, there's a lot less to discuss. Now we can actually just get on to solution and amendments and restoration. So it's powerful. So here's an invitation for you this week. Think back to a conflict that didn't quite go very well and ask yourself, what was my part? Maybe it was your tone. Maybe it was your timing. Maybe it was your actions and the way you showed up. And practice looking at that and then saying it out loud, even if it's only to yourself. You can say, I was wrong that I handled it that way. Or I should have said that differently. I'd like to try that again. And just own a little part of it. Flex these little muscles. Because healthy relationships aren't based on perfection. They're based on repair. How we get stronger as we're able to have a healthy conflict and repair healthy conflict. That builds strength. In fact, there's in the medical world, whenever there's a scar, we have a wound on our arm, that skin, when it heals, is actually stronger than the rest of our skin because there's repair. So when we have this conflict inside of our relationship, it's going to happen, and we repair in a healthy way, we're actually becoming stronger there. That's my invitation for you this week. And if this episode has sparked some reflection, maybe some self-awareness, I'd love to hear from it. You can find me on Facebook. Send me your thoughts, your comments. Let me know if this is helping you build better relationships. I believe you are worth it. Bye for now. That's it for today's episode. If this resonates with you, please subscribe, share, or leave a review. It helps more people find this work. And remember, I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who once thought dysfunction was pretty normal. I wanted better and learned new tools. And so can you.